This is the Dope Black Dad podcast. My name is Marvyn Harrison. I'm very excited today because we have done a transfer Friday. What's the transfer deadline thing called? Transfer deadline. We have swooped in to sign two South African legends. They're also the founding members of the Dope Black Dads in South Africa. We have Nebo and Tabo with us today. How are you guys doing?
All good in the hood, all gravy in the navy.
That felt so enthusiastic. I really felt the energy.
Did you? I saw a really funny meme where it's just like all good in the hood, all gravy in the navy, and then in the brackets it was just like it wasn't all good in the hood because of systemic oppression and it's not all good in the hood.
Memes are there to sober us.
But we soldier on. What's going on? It's good to be here.
Oh, good to have you guys, man. We also got Donald Butcher with us as well. He is a reoccurring theme on our podcast, whether I like it or not. Really, he still turns up.
It's that simple. It's that simple. I'm in your life forever. Like I don't like. I've asked for cuddles already, and you said no. But it's all good.
Why did you? It's so weird. Why do you make the podcast weird every week? Why do you talk about the cuddles that you're not going to get, bro?
Why not? Listen, men cuddle. It's okay.
Cuddle sounds so different. You know what's really crazy? Because both of our wives are in Dope Black mums. When they're really busy doing their things, we have to sit on the sidelines and wait for them to finish. And so it's kind of like we just talk to each other like, is your wife anywhere? I think they're finishing now, just like waiting to hang out with our wives again. So that's what we
Quick story. My wife was, they said they were going to record a podcast. The podcast got cancelled. My wife didn't tell me, but she had disappeared for the last hour. So I was like, yo.
Marvyn, what are you doing?
Marvyn, what are you doing? They said, what's the recording? She's like, I'm busy. I'm like, what?
Yeah. That's what happens.
It's like a play date.
Yeah.
And I feel like the deception is something that basically means that you need to do more at home. Okay, she needs rest. Make her rest. We've actually got Chris joining us as well. He's in Australia, but he was setting up his internet, so I think he's about to join us any minute now. So when he comes in, pretend that we've already done. There he is. We've already started, Chris. So you're in. Whatever's going on right now, pay attention. You look so confused. What's going on, sir? How are you? Christopher, I'm talking to, the person who just joined, and I said your name twice. Hi, Chris.
I didn't hear you say my name. Here comes a new challenger, Street Fighter sound.
In Street Fighter, who would you be?
Oh, good question. I'm tempted to go with Vega.
I was going to go Chun-Li. Okay, cool. Interesting.
Vega was my dude.
Vega was amazing.
The way he used to climb up the wall. And...
Yeah.
Just so everyone knows that we are a parenting podcast, so we have children in the background. It means that we're authentically parents. This is not one of those parent podcasts that do not have children around. If you do not have children around your parenting podcast, I desperately want to know where are they and are they safe? Yeah, because we did somewhere.
Kids come.
No, don't try and adjust it up now. It's too late. So this week, it was really interesting because we have no topic, and I just called on you guys just to actually just catch up and see where you are. But the first thing I really wanted to talk about was the fact that we are now officially an award-winning podcast.
Yeah.
And I've waited my whole life to say that sentence, and now I've said it on 3 occasions, not only out loud, but I've written it. It does have something to it. There's a little dance in the shoulders where it's like, I'm going to type my award-winning podcast. And so I put a post out today, which was like, telling people what's in the podcast, and I was like, check out what's in our award-winning podcast today, and it gave me an extra step. I think this might be the future. How do you feel as being award-winning podcasters?
I'm definitely going to say that with every opportunity now as well, for sure.
Yeah. I feel great. I want to thank my mum. I want to thank you, Marvyn. I want to thank God.
Jesus. All your heroes.
No, it's amazing. It really is amazing. I think all the hard work at times, sometimes it takes an outside source to recognize the work you're doing, and it gives you that little zing, doesn't it? It gives you that extra jump that you need sometimes. And we've all been doing amazing work, man. And Marvyn especially, you know, I know the amount of work he's done over the last 2 years to put himself, sometimes spread himself. Sorry. And to the producer as well.
It's also a nice way to. I think we've struggled with the uptake of the podcast in South Africa, and I've spent quite a lot of time thinking about why. And it's a kind of topic I've been pushing in our local group. That we don't really have a sort of lexicon for vulnerability. I think that, or at least starting to begin to understand what it means to be vulnerable. So I think, and I always use the example of like feminism. I think they've done a great job at like creating a type of way of talking about feminist issues, gaslighting. We know these things, but I think in South Africa, we don't even know what talking about it could even mean, sound like, look like, feel like. And I think that that's what's encouraging about the UK podcast, is that I think that you guys have at least started to develop a language for talking about the issues that like are, face black men, face being dope, being black, being fathers. So just that award-winning sting is going to be hopefully a nice lure to some of the guys. I'm like, hey, guys, who want to be part of an award-winning podcast? We haven't even done anything yet, and we can already benefit from the award-winning. we come in award-winning.
So, question to everybody here: would you make your partner say that you're an award winner while you're together? Would you make that happen?
Yeah.
What scenario?
There was like, yes, she must call me.
Yes.
No
just
lie.
Because you want them to clap for you, or
No,
that sounds like something else, bro.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, that's what you said.
I was just talking about generally socially about the partners that we're equal to in society and in the world. Calling us award-winning creates some sort of hierarchy because their podcast isn't award-winning, not necessarily because there was weird things going on. Chris, do you want to talk to us about the weird things that are going through your mind right now?
Nothing at all. Just thinking about awards and what people do when awards are received, which is they clap.
You've just installed your internet. What are the 3 websites that you plan to log into with your brand new internet connection?
Gmail.
I love how you tried to actually answer that.
Netflix and BBC iPlayer, I May Destroy You.
It's a good question.
Starring my cousin, Michaela Cole. Just wanted to say that out loud.
Cool. So last week we did a podcast on Will and Jada and their Red Couch Talk. This podcast is going really well, although Marvyn upset a few mothers with his comment about being on the birth certificate. And he's not here to defend himself, so I'm not going to defend him either. So if you upset black women, you're on your own. I can't help you. But we've seen obviously since then that August Alsina, everyone's favorite R&B artist, has come out and said that he has been in a loving relationship with Jada for many years. And he's given her everything, all he has. And if he died tomorrow, he would know that at the very least, he has given her everything. And he has loved truly and deeply, no matter what.
Is that the quote?
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah. I still haven't seen this. I just heard about it.
Why have you not seen it, Chris? Are you one of those people that are anti-internet?
Yeah.
Someone saved me. What were your thoughts when you saw that?
I actually haven't seen it as well, and I'm not anti anything. I'm just pro busy.
I've seen it, and I think, go on, Tabo.
So I think for me, like the first thoughts were, why are you snitching, bro? Because clearly this is not something that he, do you know what I mean? This is clearly not something that he was supposed to be like putting out there, right?
I'm with you.
No, but come on, these guys Americans have used infidelity as a revenue generating stream for years. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, dude, this is not
just like I was American.
Was it on his Instagram or what was the plan?
He did an interview with Angela Yee from The Breakfast Club, did a one-on-one sit down. He also apparently did a song, which was, the title of the song was the middle name of Jada Pinkett Smith, which revealed many, many things. But no one cared. So I think he went and did an interview to make it.
So has he got an album coming?
He has an album coming.
Only about that, or was it centered around.
Someone said, Leanne from Dope Black Women said that there was more stuff in there. I refused to listen to it, but she said that it was a very beautiful interview with broad insights into his character, his emotional journey, and his development. So maybe there is other stuff in there, but the only clip that's circulating is that.
But what has it got to do with anyone else? That's my question. If that's the case, I mean, like I think Lebo said, there's an agenda behind it, and why now? Why you choose now to come out with it? I think there's definitely an album coming, or there is some sort of, you know, it's like the whole Who Killed Max Mills thing, right? Or Rex, is it Rex Mills? For weeks and weeks and months, you know, first they were talking about leather backpack, and then now they're on to Who Killed Rex Mills.
Who's Rex Mills? What internet are you on, bruv?
You're not seeing it? Okay. So basically, there's an artist in the States, and he's with he's in the same circles as Jay-Z. So he went to a Rock Nation brunch party.
Oh, James Samuels. Okay, cool. Yeah, I know.
James Samuels. Yeah. So and he lost his backpack with his toilet paper, aloe vera toilet paper made for him by his mum. And he thought one of the artists on there had stolen it. Yeah, so the whole thing on the internet is hilarious. He accused Tiffany Haddish. He accused a couple of other artists. Got them on the live, asking them quite blatantly, "Did you steal my leather backpack with my aloe vera toilet paper in it that my mum made for me?"
This feels like performance art to me, because I know James, and James is an incredible creative, and I'm pretty sure that sounds like something that is scripted and incredibly well played out.
Get if you get a chance to see it, go watch it. And it's gone. And then Jay-Z tells him, once you find the killer of Rex Mills, then you will be able to find who took your leather backpack. So now it's turned into Who Killed Rex Mills. And I've got I think there's a movie coming called Who Killed Rex Mills.
No way.
Or there must be something coming, because to link it all back to what, you know, August Alsina was saying.
Yeah, please do, because I was like, where are we going? Who's Rex Mills? What's James Samuels doing? Jay-Z's acting. What's happening?
The whole idea behind that, there's this whole movement where there's no straight up, this is my album now, I'm selling this album. There has to be a prelude to that album. There has to be a prelude to whatever it is that's coming out. Some sort of drama that builds it up, and this is what I feel like. This is what's happening.
Yeah.
But are we being masculine knuckleheads by just accepting the fact that, you know, he was 21 years old, suffering from a drug addiction to Percocets, and he went to that house to receive refuge and support from a strong black older woman. This is how I talk. This is how I talk. A strong black woman he went to for refuge, and she manipulated him, all under the consent and understanding of Will Smith.
I'd watch that movie. I would. I was like, ooh.
Keep talking.
2 men, 1 woman, Percocets and sex. Percocets and sex. It's got a ring to it.
Did he describe it as manipulation? Did he describe it as her taking advantage?
He said that he had been abandoned, and that he'd given everything, and now his name is being thrown in the mud, and he feels he's being abandoned.
But they didn't throw his name in the mud. They haven't even mentioned him.
There's no mud. There's hardly any mud. There's no water. There's no mud.
From what I've seen, though, isn't Jada denying everything? Isn't she saying that this never happened?
Because the thing is, what's really weird about all of this, is that they did a red table talk with August Alsina. And so she's already called him her son, which is slightly bizarre. I don't think people's mothers should be doing these things.
No, but guys, there's this crazy TV show that I saw, and it was just such a pity of the cast and characters, but otherwise it was just what is it called? The morning show. It was on Apple.
Yes, with Jennifer Aniston. The news one.
The new morning show or something. So there's a really we always missed opportunity to really talk about power in these kind of dynamics. So the real conversation should be a man, like your movie suggests, a young man in his position, does he have agency to say no to Jada? And even if you think about it on the other side, on the other spectrum, us as men in a position of power, and it's quite interesting with also what's happening with Abiola, the OK Africa CEO. You know what I'm saying? There's just like very we often miss opportunities to really diagnose the conversation in a meaningful way. So it's just like, what does it mean when a young man meets a powerful woman? What does it mean when a young woman meets a powerful man? And yes, we can say it is consent, but consent again is there's a power dynamic that often doesn't get spoken about. Is that even if I wanted to say no because of your power, I couldn't say it. I had to say yes because it is aligned with my future aspirations, and you as a kind of key, what do they call it? You hold the keys to my future. You know what I'm saying? So then it's really more a broader conversation about the construct of power in relationships, I think.
Do you think that so at what point does the power, is it constantly like balanced and dynamic, as in like the only person that Will and Jada could do this with is like Jay-Z and Beyonce because they're the only equals to them? Anyone underneath, it's like a power dynamic. Isn't it just like August Alsina probably got invited into a scenario, thought it was a great idea, fell in love, and at some point he went to sit down with Will Smith and explain that this is what was going on. So there's all this kind of like consensual discussion, open forum. I'm not sure if the narrative of like victim fits people who sit down and have lots of rational conversations about the thing that they're going to consent to do.
I mean, I don't think it's about power. It's not about being a victim, because you could come out of that situation with whatever you want. But it's just about, like I said, the premise is, do you have agency to say no in that situation? Could anyone say no? If you know what I mean, if put in that situation, could you say no? And to your point, only put people in a position who can say no to really understand whether the person was truly consenting of that act.
Interesting.
You can't talk about consent unless there's ability to say no.
That's almost the complete game changer in terms of how you connect with people then, because you got to think like, so just say you are a powerful man. The old trope of like a powerful man finding a beautiful woman on his arm, that whole dynamic gets lost because you then need to find an equal to really know if you're going to be consenting, and that cuts off the possibilities of meeting people. Like, not cuts off, I think that's a bit extreme, but I think there's like, you now have to be extra mindful of that. If I'm a famous director, I can't just go out and meet someone and be like, I want to date you, because the narrative around me is that I can crush your career if you don't say yes. So then I'd have to approach it very differently.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I had to marry someone who was out of my league.
My God. Great quotable to have on the podcast. Great. And then listen to it together and cut me out, but listen to this together and then have that and just look at her and just be like,
I see the photo.
Sorry, Taba, what was you gonna say?
No, sorry. I was just assisting you with saying that what you mean is that in terms of options, you are kind of limited, right? That's what you were alluding to. I feel.
Yeah, I think this is what's happening with many powerful Black women. I think they want to marry someone at their level, and if they get with someone at their level, it's a very small pool anyway. But most men at that level and that power dynamic have already assigned themselves to somebody else already. There's very few powerful, single, non-playboy, ridiculous men out there. So a Black woman has to then marry down to be with somebody.
Oh my God!
Right. Yeah.
It's not a great environment. This is why polyamory works, isn't it? This is why we should all just have 2 wives and we can look after the ones that spare. Isn't that right, Donald?
Just the wife. Yes, just the wife.
Put that in your podcast. Go on.
Put that in your award-winning podcast.
Donald, how many wives would you like to have just to help the community of people that are unable to find someone? How many would you acceptably like to have in your life?
Realistically, I can only love one, but I can help many.
Out of the goodness of your heart, right? You can help. Wow, what a guy.
I don't know why, but help sounded creepy. It sounded like the power dynamic we were just talking about, where it's like,
Help.
you could be with a dope black dad.
Yeah.
It could happen. It's like,
What is the
We can
dope
make
black dad savior complex? We will save. We will save you.
We will save a few.
Let us save you.
We will.
I feel like this is why our producer Leanne, who I love very much, gives us structure to our podcast, because when we go, the things that are coming out of our mouths is what we truly think. This is what we feel. We would like to have how many wives would you like, Tabo? Go and tell us.
Hey man,
For those people
One. He said one.
I'm kidding, man.
For those people listening,
I'm fine.
correct number was 3.
He's doing some emotional maths right now.
I wouldn't want to help anyone. I'm good.
In practical senses, what's the hierarchical structure of your 3? Is this a 3 that is like a flat structure? Is it hierarchical? You know, is one in business? Is one personal? Is one for the kids? How would you create this? It's actually the structure that was historically used in our community. So we're more familiar with polyamory than we are with monogamy. So it's not that far of a concept. It's just like, what's the strategy? How are you going to make everyone happy, Tabo?
Yeah.
Is it?
I don't know, man. Like, honestly, I feel as though I haven't actually thought about it. Like, I actually haven't. I mean, we probably live in a very what do you call it? Like, when relationships are very one-on-one. What's the term? Monogamous, right?
Monogamous.
We live in monogamous. So I haven't
say
really,
monotonous.
You said
I haven't
monochrome.
really
Relationships are very monochrome.
All 3 of those things are true, so it's fine.
I mean, usually from what I've seen, it's usually based off of like having resources, right? Like, and resources most of the time means money, right? But I haven't actually thought about it. That would I actually be that person who would actually want to live that way, or who would actually take on that kind of responsibility, you know? So I haven't really thought about it in depth.
What do you dream about, Tabo? Because what's in your dreams? What happens? Cars and creative. What happens?
Other dynamic. How do you that? You know what I mean? Like, how would you?
But usually level from someone.
Where would you find the time?
Someone I know. Right? Someone. He's like a international businessman, right? So so he's got
Different
3
areas
wives that live in right. So each wife has their own household, and the husband just travels around, right? So it's not a situation where all these 3 wives live under the same roof with the husband and kids. So I figure, like, in the modern era, it will probably be like best to actually have that type of setup.
I think what's really interesting is as we evolve and as our kids get older, it'll become something that is more. It's going to become more common, you know, and we almost have a responsibility to understand it on a deeper level, so that we can then, you know, accept it when it happens in their relationship and potentially present them with a guide of how to do it properly.
It sounds like trouble.
Yeah, I've already said on another episode, I just don't have I'm bad enough with one person.
Right.
Relationship energy. Yeah, I don't have relationship energy for more than one person. I couldn't do it.
To be honest, I've just like mastered marriage, and I'm not messing that up. I just figured it out. I figured it out like 3 months ago, and I'm not messing that up. I'll tell you right now, it's just like the idea of even trying to recreate anything. I already told my wife, if she leaves, I'm done. I'm done.
I'm going with her. I told her.
Yeah, 100%. I'm going with her.
Please take me.
Yeah, there's two. She better get a bigger house because I'm moving in too. So
Where does my stuff go? Where does my stuff go?
Yeah. A couple of times I've heard this like mini utopia of where it's like people are like, yeah, we'll just like hang out as mums and we'll be together. And I'm like, nah, I'm coming, man. I'm coming to fuck that whole thing up because there's no way you're leaving me to be like as basic as hell on my own. Like I'm done. I need my wife. Go on, Chris. Do you not need anyone?
No, I did not say that. I just blatantly being basic as hell on my own. Yeah.
Tell us more about your basicness on your own, Chris.
Well, it's easy to manage the food budget. What else? It's cold and echoey in the house.
You can hear your thoughts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Are you gonna come like Jim Carrey and speak to your ornate furniture and just like put faces on
I think soon. Yeah, this is the life.
Aren't you also compounded by the fact that they've shut down Melbourne after you arrived? I think you arrived and the next day they were like, no one can leave Melbourne. What did you bring to Melbourne? Are you the coronavirus? What's going on?
Pretty much seems that way. Yeah, I'm locked out of visiting my daughter. Yeah, which sucks.
How long have they locked it down for?
Minimum of 6 weeks.
Whoa.
And I don't need to be here. My office is closed till September. I only found out after I signed up for this lease on this flat. So it was either pay 2 rents or come and live here. And paying 2 rents is not an option.
So Chris, I feel like we need to find you good news somewhere. We're going to send you 3 partners from Lebo's stash of women that he has. So we're going to send them on a flight to bypass security to come and keep you company and stay with you. Because I feel like that sounds like lots of
rose bearers,
negative things. Oh, the other thing.
Lebo's like looking at his inventory like,
wow. Not that one. Not that one. Yeah, next.
We're going to get you in trouble, but we're also going to get ourselves in trouble. Just understand.
All of us
my wife,
in trouble.
The thing is, yeah, my wife listens to like every 5 podcasts, and I know this would be the one that she listens to.
Award-winning trash.
Yeah. The other thing I want to get your... The other thing I want to get your thoughts on is Kanye West is running for president. And now, normally, I think this is, doesn't really matter. But his vision for president really connected to me. He wants to create a Wakanda in the US. He wants to get rid of abortion. He wants to go and search for aliens. I think he might win.
Yeah, I'm with Kanye on that. I'm with him. Yeah, let's go.
He wants to bring it on Wakanda.
He said he wants to base it on Wakanda, which is led by scientists with him at the helm and scientists around him solving and guiding ultimately how the country should be run based on science.
We've accepted so many crazy things in the last 5 years that as real, as normal, that it's not crazy anymore, The current president of America is a reality TV star. So it doesn't seem that crazy. But you also then have to consider again whose game are we playing into, or being what, you know what I'm saying? It feels like a bit of a distraction, no? Doesn't it feel like
some people are saying
a lesser evil thing? No, I mean, I haven't really been again.
No, some people have said that he is trying to pull away from the Biden vote by splitting the Democrat sort of left-wing centrist vote. Others are just saying that he wanted to run. Well, he couldn't have wanted to run because he's run so late, but also just like he doesn't need to do primaries because he's running as an independent. So it's a bit like you could do what you want. Maybe you could do it.
Yeah.
I read somewhere that he hasn't even registered with the election board or whatever.
Someone called Kanye These Nuts West has registered formally on the board as of last week, I think it was.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
his middle name is These Nuts.
It's just one of one of many. Wow, that's one of many things to add onto the wow, that's crazy list for 2020.
What is your wild crazy list? What's the 3 things that's happened this year that is just like, get me off this ride?
Sure, only 3.
Just list them all. List them all. We're here. We're friends.
I think that when you have to like come to terms with your existential crisis, I think that was quite crazy to think how I thought I was so on top of my game, and then something so small could just throw me off and just trigger me and just send me into a bit of a spin. So to really think about like my footing in the world. I mean, with like Corona, that was just a bit crazy. The business sense, my business is facing, possible bankruptcy, and all my relationships coming under such intense scrutiny because of the fact that we don't have anything to hide behind, including our, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was so easy for the longest time for our relationships just to sort of be an autopilot, and relationships with our partners and ourselves. Because you can come home and be like, just talk about your day and not actually have to deal with anything. Now that shit's gone, you can wake up every morning and you go, okay, so what existential crisis are we talking about today? Or which childhood trauma are we dealing with today? You know what I mean? So shit just got, shit was like real. And then to kind of, consider that even some of us that thought were pretty grounded was just kind of as we're just kind of winging it like the rest of us. So it was kind of a moment of empathy, but also a moment of just like, shit, this is crazy.
Tell us about your business and what's the impact been, just to,
I work in film. I make films and I make TV commercials, and, out of, that's just a business that just cannot function remotely. I have to physically be out in the world filming stuff with people, and they put in all sorts of precautions that you only allowed like 50 people on set, which means that it limits the amount of stuff that you can do. And also, there's a lot of science that shows that like ideas, people in the same physical space together can generate more ideas in a shorter space of time. So, creatively just trying to work remotely with my editor, and I'm getting him to send me a note. I send him a note. I'm like, change this. Then he sends it back to me, and like it takes an hour to do that. And then I send him like, no, not like that. And then so you lose a day. So you lose a lot of time, and of course you lose a lot of money. So it was just going back out there and knowing every time you leave the house that I was on a shoot recently where someone tested positive for COVID, who was interacting in a basement with like 50 people. And then that whole production gets shut down. And a lot of us obviously aren't on salaries, so we earn when we work.
Yeah.
So you don't, if you haven't worked for 3 months, it means you haven't earned for 3 months.
Yeah.
And then having two businesses that kind of like pivot on these needs, was just fucking crazy.
Yeah. What would the lesson be? What would you take away? What would you do differently when we get up and running again?
The big lesson was, I think there was I think that I did start to think about ways in which we can work a little bit more compactly. I think everybody's taken that lesson out, but I think it's not to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody was very quick to be like, we don't need to be together. You can direct remotely, But I think it's also thinking about the amount of people I have on set and really being able to create a value for all of their presence. I think that is probably the most important thing, because a lot of the time you do have a lot of dead weight. And I think across every industry, we've seen where the dead weight is, and just find ways to be more efficient and just in terms of numbers and actual value add.
Yeah. What have you guys holy shit moments for 2020 been?
For me, it's been having a 4th child is not easy.
Why are you still having children, by the way? Why don't you just like let it go?
I don't understand who can afford to have more than one child.
Donald has a weird factory farm in his basement.
I'm like, one child policy, do it once, do it perfectly, and create a, moderately dysfunctional adult who's got 2 grandparents. That's my style. I'm getting all Chinese about this. This man's just talking about 4 kids. What?
Yeah.
Tell us why you have 4 kids and why you didn't stop at 2, because like everybody else in the
one.
world. Or one.
Or one.
Or just not even bother. Why? Just don't do any.
So I'm Roman Catholic. So you have to be, in our religion, you have to be open to having more kids. So you can practice natural family planning. And I like sex. My wife likes sex. So
basically, you're a rabbit. That's basically why you have 4 children. There's no philosophical reason about raising human beings.
There isn't. No, but I
Just
think
a rabbit.
there's just the animalistic part of it, yes. But there's also another part of it, which is, you want to. I think I've grown up around a happy family, and I think culturally as well. It's just it's nice to have such a bubbly home, and I can see the benefits of having more kids in a sense that yes, you're more tired, you have less time to yourself, and all the rest of it. But the kind of, you have one, and you need a second one to play with that one, and then the kind of, you need a third to just add to the mix, because we were one of 3, and we always said we will have minimum will be 3, and then we thought my wife wanted another girl, and we tried. That girl that we had, she miscarried, that girl, at 20+ weeks, and then we were like, okay, after that, I think it was kind of less. Can we? And you question yourself. You kind of think, do I still have it in me? Was it me? And all the rest of it, and you kind of think, well, we'll just be open to it. And then we had a 4th, which was a boy. And now she's talking about having a 5th, and I've just said no. Yes, Lebo, I know. I looked at her in the same way.
You don't love sex anymore, obviously, right?
No. I told her it's finished.
I'm done with sex.
I'm done with it.
Close it up.
I feel like you have shares in Boohoo or something, with like some child slavery thing going on. And they're like, Boohoo basically were connected to, it's allegedly they were connected to a factory in Leicester who were paying people £3.50 an hour, which is below minimum wage in this country. And so it's considered slave wages, or a slave something act or something, I guess a slave act in Britain. And so I think Donald has shares in them, which is why you have enough money to raise 4 children. Are you prepared to do an audit?
Yeah, I'm prepared to do an audit. I'm open.
We should do it, because you've got too much money, bro.
Yeah, let's do an audit. No.
This is the man sitting in his made.com chair.
Right, thank you.
We have too much money.
I'm looking at those blinds.
And the Rolex.
The blinds. Let's just those blinds alone. I don't even remember
look at those Venetians.
Everything in this room is third hand. I'm just saying.
There's no such thing as third hand.
But sourced from adults, made by adults who get paid full-time wages, so therefore it's fine.
Third hand from lords and ladies.
I should have put my background on. Go away.
My second thing has been definitely this pandemic, man. It's kind of is broken me. I think, like Lebo said, it's broken me down and then built me back up again in kind of looking at myself, like Lebo said, you think you've got it all sorted, and then you're kind of faced with it with every day. Okay, how am I gonna manage? What do we have to talk about? With the kids, with my wife, and kind of go, well, right, we actually you talk. Sometimes it's easy to talk on such a superficial level, and acquaint a day to date night, that's when we go a bit deeper, or on a Saturday is when we talk a bit deeper. But when you have to do it every goddamn day, I mean, I'm loving it, but it's all right. It's good. So,
speak your truth, bro. Say it with your chest. Hang up.
It's really good. It's really, really good.
Twice.
For people who are only on audio, Donald is violently crossing his neck, asking for help. He's blinking very slowly, hoping someone will come and get him.
No, it's been good to kind of connect again and kind of invest. I found I've had also more time to myself, and kind of shift the kids away and just had time to really dissect what my purpose is. Really dissect.
What is your purpose? Apart from handling deliveries for Dope Black Dad Jumpers.
Oh God!
We've We've got a hoodie shortage in South Africa.
Oh no, we've got hoodie shortage in London.
I was just like, I never thought I'd hear the words hoodie shortage ever. That's number 4 on my what the fuck list of like 2020. A hoodie shortage? I'm like, whoa.
Oh my Lord.
What other shortages are we having if we've got a damn hoodie shortage? That's what really said.
Donald hasn't delivered any of the clothing in the last 90 days. And so people are messaging me with violent frustration about why they haven't got their merchandise because they really like
Kids
us.
are probably wearing it, right?
Yeah. He's wearing them out, going out to town and trying to look suave in front of his colonial friends.
I didn't think it was that kind of podcast, guys. Come on, I'm crying. Like really.
Listen, you have no right to cry. The amount of frustrated emails in caps lock that I have received.
It's not my fault. The factory is shut. The factory is shut. I can't do anything.
Basically, if you've ordered a Dope Black Dash jumper in the last 90 days, the reason why you have not received your jumper is because Donald is in charge. What we're going to do, though, is take the responsibility away from Donald and hand it to a 17-year-old boy who I met who wants to handle our merchandise, and he will probably get it done. I will be ashamed. He's half your age, Donald. Half your age.
That's
How much
cool.
are you going to pay him?
That's cool.
I'm going to pay
Slavery
him
wages.
appropriately,
That's cool.
17-year-old wages
I hope
appropriately.
it's not less the factory wages.
I'm paying him living wage, which is completely even better than what Donald pays his people in his shed. So fine.
That's also living wage. It's just in a shed. What's the problem?
We can't do that. Right. We can't do it. Every time you do the shed, every time I say the shed, immediately my heart races and I feel like all the people who are listening for the first time being like, Donald has a shed with people in it? We don't earn enough money to be like willfully ignorant to social trends. And so if we were like a billionaire, we could just laugh it off. And then when they try to cancel us, we can go on a yacht. But we don't have that luxury. If they ruin us for 6 months, I'm going to need to like work in some menial work. I probably have to work in your shed to survive. So
we'll be there together. Don't worry.
I can't do it. I can't say the things I want to say.
I know.
Chris, Tabo, what's been your most what the fuck moment in 2020 so far?
So for me, it's 3 things, right? So the first one is obviously the pandemic. I think it'll probably be on everyone's list. For the first time, I think this week, I'm actually experiencing a bit of anxiety. Because I think we're going through our peak now. So with more infections is obviously coming closer and closer, and there's a lot more people that that are affected. I've got about 5 people in my family that are infected right now under quarantine, etc. I've got my wife who's pregnant, due in about 7 weeks. So yeah, man, it's just a lot of anxiety because you obviously don't want to be the person who catches it, and then there's complications for pregnant people. So yeah, I'm constantly like just just clenching, and hoping that nothing bad happens. And then
sorry.
a couple of weeks
Did you just
ago,
say you're experiencing anxiety for the first time now? For the
Yeah,
first time.
yeah.
Wow, I wish I had
for the
your
first
life.
time.
That sounds so good. That sounds so good. Anxiety now, man. What I would give to only experience anxiety for the first time right now. Some of us are out here just
For real, man.
We've got like routine panic attacks out here, my dog. When are you experiencing anxiety for the first time? So late in life, I'm like, oh, man, my dog, you done made it, son. You're a black man, 2020, experiencing anxiety for the first time in like July. I'm like,
how old are you, bro?
Maybe it's the first time you identified it.
How old are you, bro?
No, I mean level.
Level.
I think the reason I'm probably like feeling as though like right now is the time when I'm actually experiencing it is because of the fact that like there's this constant paranoia that I'm actually feeling, back then, I mean, I was just I had it in my subconscious that obviously I have to be careful and I could get infected, etc. But now it's kind of like my mind is actually transferring all the anxiety into my body, Like, so one moment I'm sitting there and I feel as though like I'm experiencing symptoms, you know, like, and most of the time it's probably just nothing, but because of the fact that like your mind is constantly telling you that, because of the fact that you are going outside and you're the person going to the shops, etc. Like when you're sitting there alone, you know, it kind of hits you hard. Like, so for me, like it's only starting to kind of affect me on that level only now. You know, all along I've kind of had it under control. You know, because of the fact that for the longest time, I mean, for the past 4 years, I work for Verizon, so I've always been like a work at home type of person, and then I've got my carpentry business where I do business development, so I don't really have to go out there and actually manufacture kitchens. I've got guys that actually do that, you know. So working from home has always been something that I'm used to. So that wasn't the thing that actually changed like my routine, right? It was just the fact that now everybody's actually doing it, and when you go outside, you actually feel it, you know. So
the thing is, I think this is probably an incredibly anxious time, and most of us are suppressing it in some way or trying to find coping mechanisms rather than just letting it happen. Like the anxiety is a response to actually what's happening, and if you're present to it, you just got to let it happen, man. It's like, it's okay to be anxious. You just got to identify what it is, and if it's stuff that's bigger than you that you can't stop, like we can't stop COVID right now, then you just got to accept it.
Yeah, I think also I think my anxiety might have been, I'm not sure actually, but I suspect that my anxiety was probably triggered by, so Lebo knows I had a car accident a month ago where literally I survived like with the skin on my teeth, and my car got written off. So I think it's probably like I'm experiencing a bit of trauma as a result, you know, because it never really hit me that how bad this thing was, you know. So I think that and COVID and the fact that my son will be born in about 7 weeks, it's just, you know,
it's piling on. Chris, didn't you have a car crash as well, Chris?
Yes, not quite a write-off. So I mean, I'm not going to make it out as bad as yours. But if there was, I was lucky that I wasn't around. There was nothing around me when it happened. I slid in rain on a highway. But yeah, if there was anything close to me, it would have been curtains. I got away with a puncture. So yeah, but it was definitely a traumatic experience just because of how it happened and the amount of I probably power slid for like, I don't know, 7 seconds, but it felt like a whole minute.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had a really weird moment where I basically my son was like, I want to go do superhero training, which is when we go to the garage and do all this like lifting and basically do working out. So we went to go do that, but I couldn't really be bothered. So I hid behind this idea that we're going to go jump in muddy puddles. And so we went muddy puddle jumping, and then we go to the shop, everyone gets a healthy treat, and then we walk back. But I walked back a slightly different way. And my daughter, who's 2.5, jumped into the road, into the muddy puddle, into a busy road, and just like jumping in the muddy puddle. And it's one of those roads where it's like, it's a bit, no, it's a bit road. It's a bit one of those roads where like it's technically 2 lanes, but it's really 1 lane, and people try to like go side by side to get into the left lane early to the right lane. So, and also buses stop there, right there. And so for about literally a day, I just kept on seeing it going wrong. And it really lived with me and made me like intensely paranoid, because I'm not really a paranoid person, especially stuff like the road and stuff. I'm more just like, show them. But she just jumped in it. And I was just like, that's because I was wanting to play muddy puddles. And I know if something had happened that day, I would never have been able to forgive myself, because it was my call to do it, because I didn't want to go do running. And then I just didn't watch her. I didn't think she would ever consider doing that. It didn't cross my head. And it just, it's like those things can live inside you, man. It's probably still inside me now. It's still going to probably play on my mind a bit more, to be honest.
It's like, it's your instinct of survival that your brain will always remember the most traumatic stuff the most. So even if you think about your childhood, we remember really specific, like dangerous moments of like fear, because because they could have killed us, or they could have killed someone else that we know. And because of that need to survive, that's what we remember the most instead of the happy memories. So it's so crazy that in that day, there's a lot more beautiful stuff that happened with you connecting with your kids and playing in the mud. But the one small thing that you will remember is that, like, that almost accident. You know what I'm saying? So this is kind of what I've been like thinking about a lot in terms of just like what thoughts are filling your brain in this time as well. You know, you've experienced so many beautiful things in lockdown, but the things that you'll remember are also the most traumatic ones. And that's what I mean about how invincible we are as people. You know what I'm saying? Tabo, for example, you will, you know, like I haven't left my house in quite a long time. And I know that I don't have COVID, but I'll wake up in the morning and my throat will be a bit scratchy just because it's winter and the air is dry in Johannesburg and I'm dehydrated. So throats are just very itchy. That's just what happens in winter. But I'll be like, oh God, I'm dying. Oh God. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Even though I know I don't have it. So that's what I mean just about like being like, oh man, I really thought I had a hold on this shit. I really thought that I could vibrate at a higher self all the time. But to really deal with like your mortality in that particular way has also been kind of refreshing, just to be like, damn, I am kind of just, I am just kind of actually just trying to survive like everybody else.
That's real talk, man.
Yeah.
Well, look, guys, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you coming. I feel like podcasts about structure and scripts is maybe the way forward. We'll see how people respond to this. If we start getting, because basically my measurement is I either get emotional paragraphs or you guys are absolutely ridiculous paragraphs, which are always longer. And if I get those, we'll stick to our scripts. If we don't, we may make this some more of a chilled vibe, and you guys can come hang out with us whenever you're free, because I think this was a lot of fun. It's always good to hear what's happening for you guys locally as well, because I've been watching in the group more and more in South Africa, and it's just such a different. I learn. I listen to learn, because I have no idea and I don't want to make assumptions. So it's really interesting.
That's amazing. I do think that this is what this way. If you guys have 3 or 4 people from the international group, and every week we just plug in one new person, and I can handpick people. Be like Tabo, and I think we'll start doing a bit of a roster and just look at the people who are the most engaged. Like Siseki wanted to be a part of it, but I think he just assumed he was late. And I think we can get a few more people, as opposed to starting a whole new thing. I think it's like slowly start filtering people into this thing so they can understand it, see how it works, and then it will be easier for us to branch off and create our own one eventually.
Yeah, that's a really good shout.
I think let's explore that a bit more, Tabo.
Yeah, sure.
Worst case scenario, you two can just sit and have a conversation. You can always enroll me. You can always enroll Masita.
Yeah, I don't really have a lot to say to Tabo, so I don't. I'm kidding. I love you.
That was so cold. I don't think we can beat that, guys. Thank you so much. Where can we find you all? Where can we find all you guys on social media? Not literally in your homes, in social media. Where can we find you?
Lebo did look like we wanted his address there.
and your long card number.
I had the buzzer go off. I was like, that's at the gate.
We were flying the whole time. It's fine. Where can people find you online?
Lebogang Rasethaba, LEBOGNGRASETHABL.
Can you say that whole thing again for me? Because I actually want to be able to say that one day. Say that again.
Lebogang, that is my full name. Lebogang Rasethaba. Rasethaba is my surname. So I'd be very impressed if someone who isn't, I mean, even South Africans, if I just said that to them, they'd be like, is that so? R-A?
We gotta learn, man. We gotta learn how to speak proper language. But yeah, okay, cool.
Okay, ciao, man. Thanks for having us, gents.
Absolutely. Tabo, where can we find you, bro?
So I'm on Instagram as TaboJN. I'm trying to actually lay off Twitter a bit because I think my wife pointed out that I have a bit of an unhealthy relationship with Twitter. So I'm
like the 3 women in your life.
See if I can cut back a bit. Pardon?
Like the 3 women that you have in your life.
So Tabo. Come on, man.
Do you have
So
three
it's
Twitter
Tower
accounts?
JN on
He's got 3 Twitter accounts.
Two of them are private.
No, man. I don't know, man. I just feel as a medium, like Twitter's fun, but it's also like it can actually suck you in if you're not,
Yeah,
you know, if you
100%
don't
agree with you.
yeah.
Like the three
So,
women in your
I've been-
life. Right. Cool. Thank you.
Okay, last question. I have a question for you guys. How's everybody's screen time looking these treacherous 2020
fit to
waters?
measure that.
It's a mess, man. It's a mess.
Really? Has your screen time
Yeah.
increased, Donald?
No, it did in the first week, and then after that, I had my kids tell me that I spent too much time on my phone. So when I'm around them, they're constantly saying, "Daddy, put your phone down." So I don't look at my phone when I'm around my kids and the family. When they've gone to bed, it's fine. But even that, I don't look. I try not to look at my phone when I'm around the kids. So it's actually gone down.
That's amazing.
I'm going to say 8 to 10
Nice.
and I'm going to hang up. See you guys later. Every day. 8 to 10 hours is so bad. Someone save me, man. Save my fingers as well. All right, guys. Thank you.
That's a third. That's a third of your day, man.
Bro, I gotta go. I gotta think about that.
He's gonna go to his phone. He's like, I need to go to my phone real quick.
Go away. See you later.